Today on our 2014 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster Crossbar-Style baseplate kit with removable arms. So here's what our baseplate is going to look like once we have it installed. This is going to give us a really solid attachment point to hook our tow bar up to so we can flat tow our Jeep safely down the road. I do want to mention that the accessories we have mounted up here are not included with the kit. Here we have our breakaway switch for our braking system, our airline fitting for our braking system, and then finally our electrical plug. But our baseplate is going to come with a bracket to mount your breakaway switch for your supplemental braking system, as well as two prongs here so you can mount your electrical connector. Now what I really like about this baseplate is the fact that we can actually remove the arms when we're not towing our Jeep. If we come to the pull ring here, we can pull it out, we'll twist the arm, and then it'll come out and have a lot cleaner look. Now if you look, we can see that we're going to have this crossbeam that's going to sit right below our bumper, and that's going to provide a lot of support for our baseplate. It's going to be mounted directly to the frame, but this crossbar here is going to help reduce the amount of stress that's put on our front suspension. And then whenever we do want to tow and hook up, we can simply take our arm, we'll put it in, we're going to press in until that ring comes out, and we can rotate it until it locks into place. Our Roadmaster baseplate is going to work with all quick disconnects as well as all Roadmaster tow bars. Now it is going to work with some Blue Ox and Demco tow bars with an adapter that is sold separately. Now like most baseplates, we're going to have our safety chain attachment points right here on the end. It's going to be real easy to hook up our safety cables and get those hooks in place. Now you can see we did have to trim a little bit of the plastic shield down here so our baseplate could come through, but overall the installation is very straightforward and we're not going to have to drill into the frame at all. When we want to tow our Jeep, we're going to need a baseplate, tow bar wiring, the tow bar itself, as well as a braking system. Now specifically for our Jeep, we're also going to need an automatic battery disconnect as well as a charge line kit to make sure our battery stays charged. But now that we've seen what our baseplate looks like, let's show you how to get it installed. To begin our installation, we're going to start on the front of our Jeep and we're going to remove the splash shield or the skid plate that's on the bottom. We're going to have a total of 4 of these plastic fasteners going along the front here. You can take a flathead screwdriver or a trim panel tool and we're going to pop out the center section of the fastener and we'll come around the base and pull out the rest of it. Now if we come behind the skid plate and we're looking towards the front, we're going to have one more of those push pin fasteners on each side. So we'll go ahead and pull those out as well. And once those are removed, we'll pull the skid plate down and set it aside for now. Now we're on the passenger side of the frame rail. It's going to be right above our sway bar, and we'll find the body mount right here. Now there should be a hole right here that's going all the way through the frame. If you don't have the hole on the outside of the frame, we want to move to the inside of the frame and find this location, and there will be a hole on the inside. If the hole's not there, you're going to need to drill a 1/2 inch hole going all the way through. But since ours is here, we're going to take one of the long bolts from our kit, we'll follow it up with a flat washer. We're going to move to the inside of the frame and push it out through the hole. Now that we have our bolt going through, we're going to grab one of our pipe spacers, we'll slide it over the bolt, then we can grab one of our brackets here. Now you want to make sure you grab the right side, so if we look at the tab that has the single hole on it, how it kind of has a taper to it, you want that tab to be going towards the outside of the vehicle. We'll slide that over our bolt, follow it up with another flat washer, a lock washer, and a hex nut. Now for now I'm going to leave this really loose so we can make any kind of adjustments we need to. Just want this on there about hand tight. Now that we have this bracket loosely installed, we're going to go and repeat the same process on the driver's side. Now that we have both side-specific brackets in place, we can get ready to put our main receiver brace in. But before we do, I kind of want to go over how it's going to sit in there, because we're going to have several pieces of hardware that we're going to be dealing with. We're going to rotate the bracket up so these two holes in our bracket line up with the 2 holes in the frame here. Then our base plate main receiver is going to come through, and we're going to grab the longer 1/2" bolts from our kit, follow it up with a lock washer, a flat washer. We're going to go through the main receiver, through the bracket, and into the frame right here. To secure it down, we're going to take a handle nut and we're going to come through the bottom of the frame here, and we'll secure it with the bolt. Before we tighten any of our bolts down, we want to make sure we put a small amount of Loctite on there. That way we make sure they're going to be nice and secure when we torque them down. We went ahead and went back and applied some Loctite to the bolts we did earlier. You just want to make sure you put Loctite on all the bolts we're going to be using. So we're going to lift up our base plate until the holes line up in the frame. Then we'll rotate our bracket up to where all the holes line up. We're going to go through the top, and we'll put a bolt in place just to loosely hold everything, and then we can come back with our handle nut and secure it down. And this is going to be more of a feel. You're not going to be able to see what's going on. It's just more of feeling for that handle nut and getting it started. Now for our bottom hole, we're going to take the same hardware combination. We'll go through our base plate, through the back bracket, and through the frame. May have to wiggle everything, kind of move it around to get the bolts to go through. But then we'll secure it down with another handle nut. And we're going to do that for the other bottom hole on the other side as well. Now if we move to the bottom of our base plate, just towards the center from where our side plates are, we're going to have this tab with a hole going into the bottom of the subframe here. We want to grab one of the shorter bolts from our kit. Again, we'll put a little bit of Loctite on there. We'll put a lock washer in place. Follow it up with a flat washer. And we're going to be going from the bottom, going up through the bracket and through our frame. And we're going to put one of these nut plates on the inside. So if we come to the frame here, we can actually reach the inside. We'll line up that plate with our bolt, and we'll get it started by hand. And we're going to want to do this for the other side as well. I'm going to come back with a 3/4 inch socket, and I'm going to snug up all my hardware. And for our 2 top bolts going through the frame, I'm going to use a 3/4 inch wrench to hold the bolt while I tighten up the nut. Now I'm going to come back with a torque wrench, and I'm going to torque all of my hardware down to the specified amount in the instructions. You just want to make sure you go back and repeat that for any remaining hardware you have. With our base plate in place, we can get ready to put our skid plate back. However, you can already tell that it's not going to fit, and we're going to have to do a little bit of trimming. Now there is a diagram with some measurements in the instructions that you can follow, but what I like to do is find the mounting points, get it lined up as close as I can to where it's going to sit, and then I can take a marker and mark out the areas that I need to trim out. That way I don't have to trim as much, but if I didn't cut enough, we can always go back and cut more. I'm just going to make a few marks to know how wide I need to cut and the general locations. Then we can come back and trim the skid plate. Now I went ahead and marked out those areas with a more visible marker so it's easier for you to see. But I'm just going to come back with a razor knife, and I'm going to score all my lines because it is just plastic that we're going to be going through. And with everything cut out, we went ahead and put our skid plate back in place and just reused the factory hardware. Now I will mention that up top here, right by our electrical post, we're also going to have a breakaway post here. And in order to get our skid plate back in place, I did have to notch out a little bit extra so that that breakaway switch has room. But if you're going to be installing any kind of wiring or a braking system, now would be a good time to go ahead and do that. That'll finish up your look at the Roadmaster Crossbar-Style baseplate kit with removable arms on our 2014 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited.